And we are getting a piece of breaking news. India slams Pakistan at UNGA. Indian diplomat Petal Gehlot said, and I quote, "We saw an absurd display of theatrics from the Prime Minister of Pakistan this morning, glorifying terrorism. But no degree of drama or lies can conceal the facts. Pakistan must shut down terror camps, hand over terrorists to India." So that is a very big statement that is coming in from Indian diplomat Petal Gehlot, and we'll listen into what she said.
Mr. President, this assembly witnessed absurd theatrics in the morning from the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who once again glorified terrorism that is so central to their foreign policy. However, no degree of drama and no level of lies can conceal the facts. This is the very same Pakistan which, at the UN Security Council on 25th April 2025, shielded the Resistance Front, a Pakistani-sponsored terror outfit, from the responsibility of carrying out the barbaric massacre of tourists in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. President, a country long steeped in the tradition of deploying and exporting terrorism has no shame in advancing the most ludicrous narratives to that end. Let us recall that it sheltered Osama bin Laden for a decade, even while pretending to partner in the war against terrorism. Its ministers have just recently acknowledged that they have been operating terrorist camps for decades. It should come as no surprise that once again this duplicity continues, this time at the level of its Prime Minister.
That is a very big statement that is coming in from Indian diplomat Petal Gehlot. And we are joined by Sanjay Suri, live from New York, outside UN headquarters. Sanjay, that is a direct message from India at the United Nations. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a very firm response, speaking of absurd theatrics and ludicrous narratives, and reminding everyone, quite rightly, that it is Pakistan that sheltered Osama bin Laden for a very, very long time. Also, that it is Pakistan really that has been funding and feeding terror groups operating in India and seeking to operate in Kashmir and against the Indian presence and against Indian civilians, as we saw so tragically. So this really makes the claims of the Pakistani Prime Minister appear quite absurd, which indeed they were, because Shehbaz Sharif got up and said that Pakistan is in the front line of the fight against terror. He spoke of great Pakistani sacrifices while fighting terrorism. Now that kind of claim certainly would be categorized quite correctly as absurd theatrics. There are not many people in the world who will accept that or believe any of that for a moment. And this is the kind of claim that the Indian government and the Indian representative here at the UN has punctured very effectively, and one has to add quite easily, because Shehbaz Sharif's claims were self-evidently hollow and completely unconvincing.
Right, Sanjay. Sanjay, but how do you see Shehbaz Sharif's speech at the UNGA, as he has cried injustice over the Indus water treaty as well? How do you see that?
Well, he did more than cry injustice over the Indus treaty. He threatened war over this. He said if that is not resolved, Pakistan will go to war over this. He didn't make an appeal. He didn't point out anything about the treaty. He issued a threat. And he, of course, was full of hyperbole. But that is standard for Sharif, as it is for Pakistani leaders, really, one after the other. And that is perhaps the more significant moment in his speech, which was otherwise full of all sorts of claims that are neither here nor there. But on the Indus Waters Treaty, he has held out a threat that if Pakistan's demands are not met, or if there is any compromise from India, then Pakistan will react strongly, and clearly he meant militarily.
Right. Sanjay, Shehbaz Sharif has also hailed Donald Trump's contribution for brokering peace between India and Pakistan. He is cozying up to the right people right now. How do you see that as well?
Well, this is, opportunistic muska that Pakistan has been resorting to as a matter of policy. And from the time the Indian government began to run into difficulties with the Trump administration, Pakistan has been doing all it could to try and win favors. It concluded also a trade deal with the US and managed to get the tariffs down to 19% from the earlier 29%. It has offered a crypto deal to someone in Trump's family, a minerals exploration deal to a US company, and it has proposed his name and nominated Trump's name for the Nobel Peace Prize. And this was clearly after the Indian government sought to play down, if not entirely deny, the claims made by Trump again and again, 30, 40, 50 times. We've lost count really. It happens so much and so often that it is he who brokered the end of the hostilities in May. The Indian government rejects that, and that has clearly annoyed Trump. And seeing Trump's annoyance, Pakistan is playing up to that, and that it is doing rather obviously and quite predictably.
Right. Sanjay, but how do you see the relations between US and Pakistan in the context of China? Because as we know that China and Pakistan are old pals, and now the growing closeness between US and Pakistan, will that be a problem for China in the coming days?
Pakistan prides itself on being smart diplomats, and as they like to think, as they like to say, they are the smartest diplomats in the world. But that really is what they say. That has not been borne out by facts and history. They have run into trouble with the US again and again before, as they have with many countries around the world. And clearly the way they are going, they are heading into a degree of confrontation with the Chinese. The Chinese have been very, very keen on their near monopoly over rare earths, and rare earths are critical now to semiconductor. They are at the heart of every chip, and the chip is at the heart of just about every gadget, every bit of machinery, every running system, electronic and otherwise. So this is something China has a monopoly over, and in offering exploration to the Americans, the Pakistanis could be opening up a sort of rivalry here that will not please the Chinese. Also, the number of overtures that the Pakistani leaders have been making to Trump. Asif Munir has now met him 3 times in the last 4 months in Washington, D.C. And this is clearly trying to cozy up to the Trump administration. When we hear again and again from Pakistan that they have a special relationship with China, and given the rivalry developing between China and Pakistan, you are quite right to point out that this potentially is a very frictional issue that is coming up between Pakistan and China.
Right. Sanjay, I would request you to stay on with us as we are getting another piece of break.